Behind neon lights and closed doors, billions are exchanged in silence. But which countries top the list in 2025? From booming red light districts to shocking government stats, here are the 10 countries where the sex industry is thriving like never before. Number 1 will blow your mind. Number 10 is Bangladesh, a nation where poverty, vulnerability, and a lack of social safety nets drive many into sex work as a means of survival. Here, the sex industry is less about personal choice and more about sheer necessity, especially for women and girls who face extremely limited opportunities for education and employment. Natural disasters like floods and cyclones, combined with systemic poverty, keep millions in a precarious state. For many, the sex trade becomes a last resort when all other options have vanished. Brothels, some of which have existed for centuries, operate in legal gray zones. Yet many sex workers are forced to operate outside these establishments, exposing themselves to even greater risks of violence, abuse, and exploitation. Deep-rooted gender inequality and a chronic lack of access to education funnel countless women and girls into the trade, often from a very young age. While prostitution is technically legal for women over 18 in licensed brothels, the reality is that most sex workers remain unprotected by the law, with little recourse if they are abused or exploited. The line between choice and coercion is often blurred by desperation, as families struggle to survive, and women are left with few alternatives. As Bangladesh's population continues to grow and climate change worsens rural poverty, these pressures are only intensifying, making escape from this cycle even harder. The story here is a stark reminder. Behind every statistic is a real person, often a woman or girl, forced to make impossible decisions just to survive another day. Bangladesh's place on this list is a sobering reflection of global inequality and a call to action for a more just and compassionate world. At number 9, Mexico's sex industry stands at the intersection of economic disparity, migration, and tourism. The country's unique position as a bridge between North and South America has made it a focal point for movement, opportunity, and exploitation. Mexico is both a source and a destination for sex workers, with powerful trafficking networks preying on migrants and the poor. Many people, driven by poverty or fleeing violence, find themselves trapped in a cycle of exploitation. Tourism hotspots like Cancun and Tijuana attract millions, fueling demand for sex work and blurring the lines between entertainment, survival, and exploitation. The influx of foreign visitors creates both economic opportunity and risk. Deep internal inequality pushes many into the trade, while organized crime and widespread corruption make it perilous. For many, the promise of a better life quickly turns into a dangerous reality. Legal status varies widely by state, creating confusion and leaving workers vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. The lack of consistent protection means many are left without recourse. Migrants from Central and South America are especially at risk, often forced into sex work by traffickers as they journey north in search of safety or a better future. The industry is tragically international, with victims and survivors from across the Americas, each carrying their own story of hope and hardship. Mexico's story is one of both opportunity and danger, shaped by forces far beyond its borders, a crossroads where dreams and desperation collide. Number 8 is Germany, where prostitution is fully legalized and regulated. The aim was to destigmatize sex work and protect workers, offering health insurance and legal rights. Large commercial brothels operate openly, but critics argue this has made Germany a hub for trafficking. While some workers benefit from improved conditions, many vulnerable women, especially migrants, are exploited. The debate continues. Does legalization protect or endanger? Germany's model is a bold social experiment, raising tough questions about regulation and exploitation. It's a case study in the complexities of legalizing the sex trade. Number 7 is Russia, where the collapse of the Soviet Union left many in poverty and instability. Sex work exploded as a survival strategy, especially for women who lost state jobs. Today, prostitution is illegal but widespread, with corruption allowing the industry to flourish in the shadows. Organized crime controls much of the trade, trapping workers in cycles of debt and coercion. Russia is also a major source for international trafficking. The legacy of economic upheaval, corruption, and crime makes sex work here especially dangerous. Russia's story is one of survival amid systemic failure. Number 6 is Brazil, a country of contrasts, joyous culture, and deep inequality. Economic hardship in favelas drives many into sex work, often as a means to support families. Tourism, especially in cities like Rio, fuels demand and normalizes the industry in certain areas. Major events like the World Cup have historically spiked the trade. Sex work itself is legal, but brothel keeping and pimping are not, leaving workers in a legal gray area. Violence, health risks, and lack of protection are daily realities. Brazil's open attitudes toward sexuality don't erase the dangers or desperation many face. Here, carnival masks often hide stories of survival. Number 5 is Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, where poverty and unemployment drive a vast underground sex industry. High youth unemployment and patriarchal norms leave women with few options. Nigeria is a major source for international trafficking, with victims sent across Africa and into Europe. The industry operates in secrecy due to strong religious and social taboos. Criminalization and corruption make workers vulnerable to abuse and exploitation. For many, sex work is a dangerous economic necessity. Nigeria's story is one of hardship, trafficking, and hidden suffering. Number 4 is the Philippines, where poverty, history, and global demand shape the sex industry. U.S. military bases left behind red light districts, later repurposed for sex tourism. Many enter the trade to support families, blurring lines between choice and obligation. The country is a major destination for sex tourists, fueling both in-person and online exploitation. Prostitution is illegal, but enforcement targets workers, not traffickers or clients. The industry operates underground, exposing workers to abuse and little protection. The Philippines' story is one of resilience exploited by economic and external pressures. Number 3 is the United States, a nation often seen as a symbol of prosperity and opportunity, but also home to a vast, largely hidden world that many never see. Here, a massive hidden sex industry quietly challenges assumptions about wealth, morality, and the realities of sex work in a developed nation. Economic hardship, cycles of trauma, and a lack of social safety nets force many into the trade, regardless of background or education. Systemic failures, like inadequate healthcare, housing insecurity, and limited job opportunities, push countless Americans toward desperate choices. Criminalization and harsh legal penalties drive the industry further underground, making it not only dangerous and isolating for workers, but also harder for them to seek help or protection. The trade spans a wide spectrum, from street-level work to high-end escorts, and now, vast online markets that connect clients and workers across the country. The U.S. is also a major destination and transit point for international trafficking, with victims arriving from all over the world. Legal ambiguity, social stigma, and fear of arrest leave workers vulnerable to violence, exploitation, and abuse, often with little recourse. The American story reveals that sex work is not just a developing world issue, but a complex, deeply rooted part of life in even the world's richest countries. It's a hidden reality thriving within a superpower, woven into the fabric of everyday life, yet rarely acknowledged. The U.S. reminds us that the sex trade is everywhere, often unseen, but always present, even in the heart of power and privilege. Number 2 is India, where the sheer population means even a small percentage in sex work equals millions. Poverty, caste, and tradition drive many into the trade, especially women from marginalized communities. Debt bondage and intergenerational sex work persist, despite being outlawed. Red light districts like Kamathapura are controlled by criminal syndicates and traffickers. India is both a source and destination for trafficking, with victims from neighboring countries. Prostitution is not illegal, but related activities are, leaving workers in constant legal jeopardy. The industry is marked by deep-rooted traditions and staggering human cost. India's story is one of scale, history, and survival against the odds. Number 1 is Thailand, the world's sex tourism capital. The industry's roots trace back to the Vietnam War, when American soldiers fueled explosive growth in bars and brothels. After the war, this infrastructure was repurposed for international tourism. The government's focus on tourism, poverty, and regional inequality all drive the trade. Most workers come from poor rural areas, seeking to support families. Despite being illegal, the industry is highly visible and tolerated, but protection is minimal. Trafficking and exploitation remain rampant, especially for migrants. Thailand's position is the result of history, economics, and global demand converging. Our journey reveals a global industry shaped by poverty, inequality, and complex histories. Behind every statistic is a human story of survival and struggle. Understanding these realities challenges us to look deeper and question our assumptions. Thank you for joining us. Share your thoughts below and continue the conversation.